Well, hello Internet, and welcome to part 26 of my How to Make Video Games tutorial series. Today we're going to continue making a Legend of Zelda clone, and today I'm going to come in and create our Link animations, as well as cover how to move Link, how to create a game board array, and a sound manager. Like always, all the code is available in the description underneath the video, and I have a lot to do, so let's get into it. Alright, so we are back inside of Unity once again. The very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this link empty right here, make sure it is set for 0, 0 in both of those situations. And then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to pick my idle sprites for Link. Now, I probably should have went and made him blink or whatever, but what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to have him sort of like step like he's anxious, like he wants to get moving. And I'm just going to use that as my idle sprite because that works fine. So I'm just going to drag that over here and just drop it pretty much anywhere. Whenever I do that, this is going to open up. I'm going to make sure that I am in the animations folder, so open that up. And everything here is going to work exactly the same on Windows as well as Macintosh. And I'm going to name that idle, and it's in the animations folder, of course. And then I'm going to click on save. Now what I'm going to do with this guy is I'm going to drag him up here inside of the link empty, and then I'm going to rename this link. I'm then going to come over and I'm going to make sure that it is in the link sorting layer so that it shows up on top and you'll be able to see it. See, it's right there. And then I want to position it. And where do I want to position it? I think I want to position him in the 1, 1 location. So he's way down here. Let me just zoom in on this so you can see exactly what's going on with him. And then what I'm going to do is since I have that selected, I'm actually going to be able to change how this, the speed of this, and then later on be able to switch between animations. So there is idle. And if we go and we play the scene, you're going to see that Link is going to move very, very quickly. See, he's really, really jerky, and I don't like that. So I'm going to stop that. And then I'm going to come over here to the animator, select idle, and then I'm going to drop it down to something in the area of 0.2. I think that will look a lot better. And leave everything else set exactly as it is. Then I'm going to jump back over into my scene, and I'm going to select my Link character once again, and I'm going to need a rigid body set on Link so that I'll be able to move him around. So I'm going to go add component, physics 2D, and rigid body 2D. I'm going to select gravity so that he is not in any way affected by gravity. I'm going to have collision detection set to continuous. And I want to also come in here and constrain rotation on the Z-axis. I don't want him spinning around. And I also want to take the mass and lower it to a very small amount. So once again, I'm basically moving Link. He's not moving on his own. And if we jump over into animations, we're going to see all of these guys. And let's just change the name of this to Link. Now what this is the controller, and this is an animation. So Link is the controller. The controller is what you see here. That's what's going on here. And then this is the specific idle animation. So we're going to, of course, want to have other animations. So we're going to create some more. So I'm going to go into sprites. And then I'm going to come down here to 53, 54, and 55. And these are going to be the animations for whenever a Link is walking downwards on our game board. So I'm going to drag them over here, drop them in here, and I'm going to call this, once again, make sure it goes into the animations folder. And I'm going to come over and give it a name that's going to make sense for it. And that name is going to be Walk Down. And save it. And I really don't need to do anything else with it. You're going to see that it's in here. We can get rid of this controller. So let's delete that. Yes, delete it. And there's the walk down animation. So let's go and delete this altogether. And then once again, if I want to add that capability to walk down for my Link, I'm going to go and get walk down and drag it over inside of here and put it right inside of there. Now what I need to do is I want to define situations in which we go from idle to walk down. To do that, I'm going to have to define that in the parameter section. I'm going to have to create a new parameter. Oops, before I do that though, so I don't forget, I'm also going to click on walk down and change the speed to 0.2. Don't want to forget that. All right, anytime something comes into your mind, you might as well just do it immediately, otherwise you may forget. And everything else there, I do not need to mess around with. All right, so we're back inside of the animator once again. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to define an integer, and it is going to be move direction. And what I'm going to have it set up for is that 0 is going to be for idle, down is going to be 4, left is going to be 1, 3 is going to be for a movement to the right, and 2 is going to be a movement upwards. but I'm also going to be able to make these changes inside of the code, as you're going to see here in a moment. So we have move direction, and I'm just going to leave that set for 0 right now. That's the default value. And then I'm going to come in and I'm going to define what happens. I'm going to make transitions, or we're going to define when we go from the idle state to the walk down state. And what I'm going to say here is we're going to move from idle to walk down whenever, and we'll have to come in here and select this arrow right here, and then come down to list the conditions. So we're going to switch from idle to walk down whenever the move direction inside of my script is going to equal to 4. And then I'm going to come in here and create a transition where we move from walk down back to idle. Select that right there. And we're going to say that we are going to switch back whenever move direction changes to 0. And that's how easy it is to define how we're going to switch back and forth between those two completely different animations. I'm also going to come in here and make a couple more of these. So let's switch back over into our scene. And I want to define how we are going to animate Link if he is walking to the right. And that is going to be 51 and 52. So select both of them. You can see his foot's coming out there. So let's just drag it, drop it inside of there. And we're going to call this walk right. And rather than having a walk right, walk left, I'm actually going to, in the code, change these so that I can use the same animation for both. So walk right is going to be saved once again in animations. Don't forget to do that. So we're going to click on save. And then we can delete this once again. Go into the animation section, delete this once again. Yes, I want it deleted. Animator, come over here and get the walk right and drag it inside of there. So there that is. Now we're going to define how we are going to switch between idle and walk right. And walk right, remember I said, is going to be whenever we go from, this is 3. Move direction is going to be equal to 3. So equal to and 3. And then I'm going to create another, make the transition from walk right to idle. And we're going to select that arrow. Make sure you select that arrow. And then we're going to come in here and say whenever this is going to be equal to 0. So pretty simple stuff. Now we're also going to need to do an animation for walk upwards. And where is that? That's going to be 56, 57, 58. So 56, 57, 58, 56, 57, 58. Grab those. Whoops, I should have switched over to scene. Now I'm in scene. Drag that over here, drop it inside of there. And then this is going to be walk upwards. So, or walk up simply. So walk up is the name of that. And let's change it to animations and all that's fine. And click on save. Once again, delete this and come into the animation section, delete this, and then we're going to go and get the walk up, drag it into the animator, and let's move this over a little bit, and we can drag that down here, and then get walk up and drag it right inside of there. And we're going to say that we're going to transition from walk up to idle whenever the move direction value is set to 0. And then we're going to switch back from idle to walk up. Is it this one right here? Yes. Whenever it is equal to 2. So get this like this and equals and change this to 2. All right, and like I said, I'm also going to show you how to do this switching inside of the code, which is actually a little bit what I prefer to do anyway, so that's all good. And now that I have all of Link's animations set up, what I'm going to do is go in here and create our game board and our game board array that is going to represent our entire game. To do that, what we're going to do, I don't have game board on here yet, and so what you can go create empty, and I'm going to call this game board. So B-O-A-R-D, there it is. And game board is basically just going to be a script. That's what it's going to be used for. And it's going to have a bunch of utility functions inside of it, but I'm going to switch these to 0 nonetheless. So I have that selected. Then I'm going to create a script for my game board. So C# script and call it game board. And now I'm going to open that. Okay, and if you're on Windows, you're probably using Visual Studio, and if you're on Mac OS, you're going to be using MonoDevelop, but everything's the same. All right, so I know that I'm going to need to round some values here, so I'm going to have to go and get my system library imported into this, and that's what that's for. Now I got to think about what I'm going to do. Now the main purpose of the game board is going to be to hold an array that is going to have all of my game objects inside of it, so I know where I can move and I know how I can interact with things on the screen as those things change. But I'm also going to have some other utility functions as well. Now, another thing I want to do here is I just thought of something that I want to do eventually, but I don't want to cover right now. So basically, I am going to have bushes. Let's switch over into Unity. Okay, so here's my game board. Now, basically, I am going to have my hills, which of course Link's not going to be able to walk on. I'm going to have these bushes. Whenever the bush is knocked down, there's going to be a stump underneath of it. There's a house. There's rocks, boomerangs, bow and arrows. There are bombs, all sorts of things to interact with on the screen. So I basically want to go and put those things inside of an array so that I can interact with them and also know where Link is at all times inside of my game. Okay, so here I am back inside of the game board script. So what I want to do is something that I want to remember to do. I'm going to put to do inside here and say remember to change under rock to stairs after rock is moved. And another thing that I want to remember is that I want to change to gem and then stump after the bush is moved, and also to do the same for boomerang, bombs, and bow, and the vase. And also, let's just think about the types of objects that I am going to need here. So I'm going to have hills, and I'm going to have trees, bushes, the house, and the boomerang, and bombs. Good to list everything out here so I don't forget anything. The stone, the bow, the vase, and gems, and stairs, and doors, and chest. I think that's everything that I need. All right, and where am I going to store all these things? Well, I'm going to store them inside of an array. And I want to make this public so everybody else can access it, or the other scripts can access it. So let's go there, and I'm going to call this game objects. And this is going to be new string, and it's going to be 26 by 19 to accommodate all of the space required on my screen since I start in the lower left-hand corner. And I don't think at this time I need to do anything else. Now we get into the start function. What I'm going to do here is whenever the game starts, I'm going to load all of these assets into this array that I created. But I'm going to have to create a function to sort of streamline that process. So I've used this function previously, and this is just the way that I like to load arrays. So what I'm going to do here is this function is going to add game object names to our array using rows so that I can sort of fill in from left to right a gigantic row all at once, which is going to save a lot of time. So I'm going to call this add y row x range. And what it's going to do is it's going to receive an integer that is going to be the y row that I'm going to be filling in. And then it's also going to receive the starting x position I want to start filling in at, and the ending x position. And then also I'm going to have a string, and I'm just going to have the game object name in that string. Okay, this is very, very simple. All this is going to do, it's a for loop, and it's going to cycle through all of the assets. So it's going to start here at the starting position, and then it's going to go through the whole way here. And then I have to increment I, of course. And then I'm just going to go and get my game objects array. So game objects, and then go I and the changing value of our row, and then assign it with the string that was passed inside of it. So very, very, very simple. Now what I'm going to do is do the same thing for everything's on with the same x and changing values of y. So I'm going to go add x, and x in this situation is going to be columns, not rows, and then this is going to be changed to y range, and then I could change this to x column, so x column, and this will be y start and y end, and then we just need to change these. So this is going to be y start and y end, and then this guy is going to be changed to x column, and this is going to be changed to the changing values of I. All right, so good stuff. Another thing I want to do before I start doing anything else is I want to verify that a space is a valid space for link to be able to move into. So I'm going to go, this is going to return true or false. So I'm going to say is valid space, and it's going to receive a float and for the X position and the Y position. And then we're also going to get our horizontal move and our vertical move, which are going to be values that we create whenever we create our link script. And I may not need this. I don't know. So what I'm going to do, this is basically just going to make sure that link is not going to be able to go through a 0, 0 position. I'm doing this just to test out whenever I first am starting with a basic sort of moving link around, but I'm then going to get rid of it. So that's what it's going to do. So horizontal move and Y move. So this is just going to be the position of link in our game board. Okay, that's what I'm testing here. And I'm saying if either of these are less than 0, I want to increment the value by 1. All right, so this is something I'm putting in here that I plan on getting rid of. Then I'm going to go X is equal to, and we have to use floats because that is what vectors work with. And this is the floor function. I'm going to convert this, and I have to convert it to from a float into a double and then back into a float again. That's what's going on with that. Like I said, this is something that's going to be in here temporarily, and I will then delete it. It's just basically protects my link from falling off the screen whenever I'm just testing the very beginnings of my animations. And then this is actually going to be my check to see if I can actually move into a position in our array with link. So I'm going to say if game objects, and I'm going to convert the float into an int, and that's going to be X, and then I'm going to go once again int and Y. And if I don't put something inside of our array, that means it's going to have a value of null. So I'm going to, if there's nothing there, then that means yes, I can move in there. And otherwise, if it's not equal to null, that means there's something there. And in that situation, I'm going to say that I cannot move in that direction. Okay, so I got all that set. Now what I need to do is use these two functions here to fill in all of my game objects inside of my array. Okay, so what am I doing here? Well, let's go. This is inside of Unity, of course. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to start here. And you can see if I select this first one, the position is X0, Y0. And let's say I want to add all these hills across the entire bottom all at one time. Well, the value of X changed, but Y did not change. So what I'm going to be able to do is I'm going to say for anything that has a Y value of 0 inside of our array, I want to go and mark it as hill for 0 through 25 of X. Okay, that's what that function is going to do for me. And what that looks like, I'm going to do this once again as soon as the game starts, is I'm going to go add Y row and X range. And then what I'm going to put inside of it is I'm going to start with values of Y equal to 0. And then I'm going to start with a minimum value of X, maximum value of X. And then what I want to put inside of it is the hill. Whoops, put that outside of there. All right, so it's just going to be a string array. And I'm going to do this for all of the other different guys inside of here. Likewise, let's go back to Unity. Let's say I want to come in here and I want to fill in all of this side. This whole entire side right here. Well, if I select this, you can see 0, 0s once again. Come up here and select this guy up here. You're going to see that it's 0 through 18. So what I want to do is I want to go through and use a constant value of 0 for X and Y from 0 to 18. Back inside here, and what that's going to look like is it's going to be add X column Y range like that. And then it's going to be 0, 0, 18. And once again, these are hills, okay? So you don't have to watch every single one of these. I am going to go and copy and paste all of them in now. And there you can see I placed all of them inside of there. So not only did I do it for the trees, but I also went and did it for the bushes as well as the house. And then right here at the very bottom, since I only had one boomerang, one bomb, one stone, one bow, one door, I went and just placed those individually inside of there without the function. And that is all that I need to do for our game board. And now I'm going to jump back into Unity and then we will create our script for Link. All right, so let's go inside of here and let's close this down. And here is a link inside of here. So we're going to select link. I'm going to create a script, C#, and let's call this link because that makes sense. Make sure link has attached the script, which he does not. Let's grab this guy right here and let's grab it and drop it inside of there. Well, I'm gonna have to move this up. Grab link, drop him inside of here. There he goes. Now he has a script attached to him. And now let's open that script. All right, so here is my link script. Once again, I'm probably gonna want to use rounds. So I'm gonna go using system, and then I have to think about all of the things that I want to be able to track with the link. So let's open this up. So one thing that I know that I want to change or be able to change or work with here is link speed. So I'm going to get that inside of there. I am then going to also need access to the rigid body so that I can move link around, but I don't want any other scripts to be able to move him around. At least I don't think so. So I'm going to have that. I am then going to need access to the isValid space in our game board script. So to get that, I go game board and game board. So there we are, got that also. And what else are we gonna need? Well, I wanna get a reference to our sound manager. So sound manager and sound manager. So there that is. And sound manager doesn't exist right now. Let's go create it. So here we are, and create empty, and let's just call this sound manager, and let's select the sound manager. And what we're going to do to it is we're going to go add component and audio source. And then later on, we will go in here and change some other different things. So that's all we need for the sound manager at this time. We're going to save that. Now let's go in scripts also and create a sound manager script just for the heck of it. So sound manager, and there that is also. And we can open that up. And there's the sound manager. We'll get back to that in a second. Okay, so now we don't have an error there. We don't like having errors, or at least I don't. Well then, I'm gonna be changing the animation for link. So I'm gonna need access to an animator that is tied to link. And we already have that set up. And I think that is everything. So now what I wanna do is I wanna load a whole bunch of things as soon as the script starts up and make sure that they are loaded. Otherwise, I will get errors. And you do that in a function called awake. So something that I want to do is I want to get access to the rigid body so that I can work with link. And to do that, you go get component and then rigid body 2, and then just put the parentheses, and there we are. Whoops, get rid of that. Parentheses, and there that is. Another thing I'm going to want access to, of course, is our game board. And to get that, I can just say find object of type and type of, and it's going to be game board, and then go as game board. And there we go. Now I can get the game board, and that's how we can get objects that are inside of our hierarchy. We're also going to want to come in and get access to the sound manager. So we'll just go and go game object, and so this is a bunch of different ways to find things. So we want to find a game object that is named sound manager. And then if we do, we want to get the component sound manager. Okay, so pretty cool stuff. Be able to access and grab all these different things and use them inside of our scripts. Something else I'm gonna need. Well, the animator. So we'll get our animator, and to get it, we just go get component and animator. And these are really easy to get, the animator and the rigid body, because they're already attached to link, which the script is also attached to link. Okay, so that's all we're going to need to do there. What else are we going to need? Well, I just thought of something. We're also going to need, let's put it up here. We're also going to be changing the animations whenever link is facing right as well as left. So I'm going to have a bool called facing right, and let's make that false. And I might be able to do this with just one of these, but I'm just writing this out of my head. So right now I'm gonna use 2 of them, and then I'll probably change that later on. Another thing I want to do is I want to create fixed update, and in fixed update, that is where we are going to do all of our animations of link. So fixed update, create that. And what I want to do is I want to get the keyboard input. Horizontal move is going to be equal to, and input and this is going to get me anything. Anytime the user clicks on A or D, this is going to tell me that, which one they clicked on. And then I will be able to take that information and then move the link accordingly on our screen. And where you can find that at, if you come into Unity, you can go into Edit and Project Settings and Input, and open that up, and Axes, and here's horizontal. And you can see right here, it's going to get the left and right arrow keys as well as A and D. And then if you look in vertical, it's going to get the down and up arrow keys as well as S and W. Okay, so that's where that information is coming from. Back inside of our script, we're also going to come in here, and this is going to be vertical move, and this is going to be vertical. All right, so there we got our information about what keys they're pressing and how we should move. Then I'm going to say if game board is valid space, and I have to convert this to a float, and transform. Anytime I call transform position, that is link's position, and for X, and then I'm going to add horizontal move to it, which is going to represent where in the X area link is trying to move to. And then I'm going to do the same thing for Y. So let's just copy that, come down here, paste that in. So there that is, and let's change this to Y and change this to vertical move. Okay, so that's just verifying that we will be able to move the way that we say we want to. Another thing that we are doing here is I'm going to also pass inside horizontal move as well as vertical move. And this is that function that is over inside of our game board. Okay, and if you want to see what I'm talking about, it is this guy down here. Where is it? See, is valid space. So I'm getting all of that information. And like I said, I'm probably going to get rid of this, the horizontal move and vertical move, but whatever. I'm going to keep it for now. Let's save that, by the way. Open this up. Let's save that also. All right. So if it is a valid place for us to move, I'm going to call the rigid body, and I'm going to say velocity is going to be equal to new, and then I pass inside of it a vector 2, and that's going to be horizontal move times speed, and vertical move times speed. And that is going to move my link around on the screen based off of X's and Y's, and speed, of course, is going to tell me how fast to change those things. And otherwise, if it isn't a valid space, I'm going to say else, and I'm going to just change my velocity to 0. So I'm going to say new vector 2, which is basically going to stop link from moving, pause him from moving anyway. Okay, so we got that set. Now what I want to do is I'm going to change my animations based off of what keys on the keyboard are being pressed. So I'm going to say if input.getKey is equal to S. Well, in that situation, what I want to do is I want to play the walk down animation. Walk down. Then I'm likewise going to do the same sort of thing for all of the other directions. Paste that in there. Here, I'm going to say W, and that's going to be the walk up animation. And we'll do the same thing here. This is going to be D. Now, this is going to be a little bit tricky because I'm using the same animation for moving left as well as right. So I'm going to change this to walk right, but then I have to figure out that's the walk right animation, but then I have to decide if I'm moving right, which I am with D, or I'm moving left. So just to keep this nice and simple, I'm going to say if I am facing left, flip that over there, then I'm going to say facing right is going to be equal to true, and facing left is now going to be equal to false. And another thing I want to do, if I want to switch the animation so that it's flipped in a different direction, I'm going to go animator, transform, rotate, and this is going to be 0, 180, and 0. So another thing I might change, but for now I'm just trying to make everything work, and then I will optimize everything later on. So then, if I'm not facing left in that situation, I am just going to change facing right is going to be equal to true. Okay, so I think that looks pretty good. Now I'm going to do pretty much the opposite for when we want to move to the left. So I'm going to paste this inside of here. I'm going to change this to A. That is moving to the left. I'm still going to play the walk right animation, except down here I'm going to say if facing right, I'm going to say facing right is going to be equal to false. And I'm going to say that facing left now is going to be equal to true. Animate or transform rotate still going to be exactly the same. And then I'm going to say else if facing right, and then I'm going to say facing left is now going to be true. Okay, so we save all that. Then what else do we need to do? I'm going to also, let's just copy this guy right here. I want to set up just a quick fix for switching back to the idle position if keys are released. So I'm going to say if I want to find out if a key has been released upwards, I go get key up, and I'm just going to use S. It doesn't really matter. In that situation, I'm going to play my idle animation again. So we got that set. And another thing that I am going to do inside of here, just to make sure that we don't have any issues, is I'm going to say float center X is equal to, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say anytime that link's X position is basically anything except a fixed integer, I want to round up to an integer. And what that's going to do is just make sure that link doesn't catch on the edge of any of the other game objects and get stuck. Once again, this is just a quick fix that I'm going to put in here. It's something that almost always happens, and I just want to stop it ahead of time. So I'm going to say convert to double, and whenever I play the animation, you're going to see what I'm talking about. So position X, and I'm going to do the same thing for the Y position, because, you know, everything inside of the game is going to be based off of an array with fixed values. So if I get a float for a value in an array, that doesn't make any sense. So what I'm saying is I want to round these, okay? But everything still has to be a float because that's the way vector 2's work, but whatever, okay? So I think you understand that. If you don't, leave a question in the comment section and I'll answer it. So transform position, and anytime you are setting the transform or the position on the game board for link or any game object, you have to create a vector for it. So vector 2, and then I'm going to put center X as well as center Y. All right. And I think that's all I need to do for link. So I'm going to save that, and we'll jump back into Unity and test it out. Okay, so here we are, and we're going to run it. And there's link, and I'm pressing the keys, and they're not working. Why is that? Did I not connect this link? And there is, his speed is set to 0 for some reason. Let's change that to 30 maybe? Okay, save it, and let's run it again. Was that maybe the problem? No, that wasn't the problem. Okay, so what is the problem? I know what I forgot to do. The game board, I have to come in here and I have to get the game board script and attach that to that. And another thing is I want to change my speed to 5. And now let's try it. And Link is animating the right way, but he is not moving for some reason. Let's see if we can figure out why that is. Okay, so I figured out what the error was. First off, up here, whenever I want to walk up, this has to be W, okay? I inadvertently left that as S. And the other thing I want to do is this guy kept centering the link. And the reason why is it wasn't supposed to be there. I wanted it to be right here. And this also is going to have to be up there. Okay, and if we save that, now it should work. Let's run it. And now you can see Link is moving around on the screen and animating perfectly and looking really good. And like always, anytime that you are having any problems, make sure you check the link in the description underneath of the code or underneath of the video, and you will be able to fix any errors that you might have had while copying in the code. And like always, please leave your questions and comments below. Otherwise, till next time.